Well, I'm Katrina, I'm a Russian, I've been living in UK for 15 years. A recent Facebook analysis says that I'm 92% more optimistic than most people on Facebook. I think that describes me as a person.
My name is Gerald, I'm a filmmaker. I describe myself as an artistic, creative.
I'm David Simmons, I'm the director of a company called Absolute Communication, and what we do is provide solutions for people who struggle with communication, mostly with presenting themselves.
I'm James Ratnaraja. I started thanatophobe really as a result of having gone through an experience where I went through a fear of death, quite a scary experience actually, 2008. Ever since that time I've really wanted to come up with something or do something to help people that went through the same experiences that I did, because when I went through that experience I felt very alone and very unsure of what I was going through. Is it right? Are other people going through this? Why am I going through this? I had so many questions. So when I came out of it I was so sure that I wanted to do something, because I didn't want anyone else to feel the way that I felt all those years ago. So that's why thanatophobe came about.
So it's how can we define a product that helps thanatophobes come to terms with their fears. And one of the quotes that we've kind of basing this chat on is this, I'll just read it to you and then I'll explain it. If I take death into my life, acknowledge it and face it squarely, I will free myself from the anxiety of death and the pettiness of life, and only then will I be free to become myself. So what I've held the belief for the longest time is that if we face our death square on, and if we really come to terms with it, really grapple with it, grapple with our fears, grapple with the specific reasons why we fear death, I believe we live a happy life. Surely because we've dealt with that thing, we've dealt with this elephant in the room, and then we can move on.
However, I think for me, when I was trying to think of it, it's just such an unknown and such an X that I can't really face it. I don't understand it. So I think for me it was more, I think it's Hinduism and the sort of approach that actually everyone can live through today. Like you just can live through today, that's it, you know it. Mm-hmm. But it's when you put the fear of the past and fear of the present is the two things you know they're outside of your control entirely. Mm-hmm. So I think the problem with any fear really is the fact that people are trying to project something into the future where they have no control about it at all. So the only thing they can do, they can plan their day and say, okay, I can do this and just be like as good as I can. I can live by example, I can just live in the present.
To what extent is all art about an artist coming to terms with death? If you look at poetry, you've got Dylan Thomas, Rage Against the Dying of the Light. If you look at films, such as the Disney stuff we've been talking about.
But the thing is, everyone's going to like confined in different things. So if you fear death, maybe your kind of way of getting in that comfortable zone is by going to watch your favourite TV programme. Mm-hmm. We're talking about arts and, you know, how artists, you know, portray death. Maybe we talk about art and cartoons and Disney, you know, maybe that's something that you can find in watching fake reality, stuff that makes you, you know, wonder, your mind goes somewhere else. So I guess different people can find different things.
Yeah. So
that's right.
Is that fair to say then that that's escapism?
Escapism.
So it's using escapism positively rather than escape the problem completely and kind of ignore that it's there. It's using their want to escape.
We always need something. So it's almost breaking down happiness as well, because people are unable to, you know, they sort of think of happiness, you don't know what makes you happy, and I think what you just said, I think it's really key for me as well, is the small things that matter, and it's such a saying that people then stop appreciating what they have. You know, it's the small things like just watching a favourite TV program, you know, some people can't even do that. So with whatever makes you just a bit happy, so you stop feeling guilty that you haven't done something, you stop feeling, I don't know, scared or something else. So it's also reminding people about the small moments.
So narrowing the conversation further towards what we want to achieve, which is to get something out there for thanatophobes to be able to come to terms with their preconceptions of death or whatever. We talked about the importance of connectedness, and having a controlled platform is one option. What other things can we think of?
Gerald, you were talking about that earlier. You said why? You said humour is a good way of attacking the problem.
Yeah.
Let's drill down a bit further into why. Why do you think does that?
Happiness, obviously, is just opposite of what you're feeling when you're having, a fear of death. Feeling happy is important. Being reassured, positive. I'm sure your kids run to you when they're feeling upset. You make them happy. You reassure them. When you're a kid, you like to watch cartoons because it's like, it gives you happy thoughts. So yeah, I think happiness is important.
So is that then going back to escapism?
Yeah, it's going back to escapism.
Okay. And Tolkien made this assertion that fantasy is necessary to live in this real world, surely because what fantasy enables you to do is it allows you to escape, but not necessarily escape to forget or escape to run away. It offers you an escape, but in that escape it allows you to assess your world with a different perspective.
To what extent can we use fantasy in this product?
But we know that escapism is good, and we know that it's that repetition is good, and we know that visualizing is good, and they want to create something rather than just fear, and they want to be together with somebody else. So it could be an option.
But what if you were responsible for someone else's life? Like, how you play a game? That's escapism when you're playing games.
Yes.
But you're in charge of someone else's life. You know what I mean? Even when you're playing
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
then that takes the focus completely off you.
Yeah, very.
And it panders to the fantasy thing as well.
And actually, it's a good platform because actually games I worked a lot with sort of different games like Capcom and stuff. It's them who create the zombies and shooting things, and every new, we were working on new IP, and it's like every time it's more disturbing and more disturbing and more disturbing. They're trying to create the shock, so it's good if they actually, invest into something.
Something more positive.
Yeah.
So in seeing someone else's life unfold through a game, let's say, then does that talk back to themselves and say, okay, so I've got this fear of death, I'm scared of such and such, but now I'm creating this life for someone else, I see how they're dealing with stuff. That teaches me how I should deal with mine.
And so this application, this thing, this product could create an alternative third-person view of themselves in a way.
I think we're close to summing it up. It's an online collaborative gaming environment that gives people, they have to create an alternative life for someone else by doing so and overcoming some tasks. By doing so, they learn a bit about their fears, they learn a bit about themselves, but they collaboratively band together and win at something. So it provides that escapism. Yeah. But it also provides them a feedback mechanism to understand their fears of death.
Yeah.
Session with?
I feel like we actually have a very positive solution, which is both modern, very current, interesting, engaging, and something that, should I have a fear, I would definitely go to. And something that people who don't have fear can actually benefit from. So it's something that society can embrace and which can actually change society perceptions without forcing them to. It's something that they can acquire in the process of actually taking the journey.
I'm walking away with an understanding of what thanatophobia is, confident that I fed back my own ideas and came to a conclusion with some really interesting people on how to help people with this condition. So proud of that.
Walking away with a greater understanding of how you can approach a problem laterally And what we came up with was something that doesn't necessarily approach thanatophobia head on, but it comes at it through a trapdoor, if you like. So we're creating something that isn't necessarily directly aimed at thanatophobes, but everyone can enjoy, but also has the added benefit of helping people come to terms with fear at the same time. And that is something I hadn't expected. I thought we might come up with something very clunky, very straightforward, you know, a black box solution, if you will, that helps people come to terms with fear. But actually what we've created is something that could be really fun to use, make them laugh, make them create alternative realities, but at the same time help them deal with their fears without necessarily realising it.